incredibly tense match there as ABA upset Shadow Cartel, who most people's books were probably going to win that match. Yeah. I mean, really crazy game, so close that it started, just barely surviving at the end. Really, what was the turning point in that match for you?
I think the turning point was probably the control on the AB8 side. Their T3D pilots were very much on point in killing the support of Shadow Cartel. It was definitely, it could have gone either way, to be honest. That Balgorn was really, really hurting the AB8 side, but AB8 managed to pull it out somehow. I think their flagship Armageddon really, really helped them. So AB8 did bring their flagship Armageddon, so I think it did help them in this scenario, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the Flaggeddon is something we discussed earlier as well, with the XType newts being a decent counter to a Balgorn, and being able to shut the team down around it as well. I'd say this is definitely an upset. I would have expected Shadow to win that fight hands down before seeing the setups and stuff. They've been a very good team in the past. They have made silly mistakes in terms of boundary violations in previous tournaments. They got knocked out one year on a technicality as well. There was a problem with a boundary, and one of the opposing teams boundary violated and it didn't count. So I mean, they've had some rough luck in previous years. This time again, we saw the Balgorn, I think, MJD out of the fight at the start of the match. I can only imagine that was a misclick, really.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, so Shadow Cartel there dropping into the losers bracket. No one gets eliminated at ASA again, just into the losers bracket, which is a grueling slog, but there is still a chance to make it pretty deep in the tournament, as some teams have done in years past. Now, looking at our next matchup, we're going to be going into Velour Accords versus Solar Fleet. So the Glentay Militia versus the Russians from the East. Now, before we go in to talk about that matchup, I want to give a massive shout out to CCP, who've given us a ton of support for running this event. Massive thanks to them for putting this on, letting us do this whole player stream on top of the tournament, which we all love. Massive shout out also to the guys at ATXIV. The site is working again. You guys should totally spend all your money. I've currently made 2 bill today. Very pleased with myself, not going to lie. Haven't miscalled a single match in terms of my betting, at least I probably have on the stream. Regardless, so Velour Accords versus Solar Fleet. Now, Velour Accords, their flagship is a Macarial. Really, tell me about what you get from flagging your Macarial as to a normal Macarial, because if I remember, it's compared to other ships, it's not a great deal.
Yeah, I was going to say a Macarial is an odd choice because you don't get as much as you would get on an Armageddon, a Balgorn, an SNI, or anything along those lines.
Yeah, you don't get quite the same returns from pimping it, do you? You don't get a massive tank, you don't do a significant amount more damage, you don't gain a lot of utility, because a Macarial is a ship that does damage from range, ultimately, using its fall-off.
Yeah, pretty much. You can put officer guns on it, I suppose, which gives it that, that mitigated, like, gets some of that DPS, but I guess you can pimp the tank on it. Other than that, that's about it, really. You get some utility out of it, but not a lot, but it could be a wild card. It could be something completely different. Yeah.
So we now have Solar Fleet. Rocket, tell me about Solar Fleet's history on Tranquility. Who are they? What do they do?
Oh, they've been around the block, to say the least. They've been around a fair few years. Big Russian entity. It's not someone that you really want to pick a fight with, because you might find that you're fighting a lot of their fellow Russian friends as well. They've gone from strength to strength over the years. Tournament-wise, maybe not so much of a big name, but certainly on TQ a force to be reckoned with.
So Solar Fleet have chosen the Balgorn as their flagship. So Balgorn versus Mac. Obviously the newts can't turn off the Macarial's guns because it's projectile based. However, one of the big advantages of the Macarial is its speed. So if you turn off the NWD, then you might be in a lot of trouble because Macs don't tank particularly amazing compared to other battleships. So we'll have to see, of course, whether or not either team fields their flagships as we go into this match.
I was just going to say, it'll be pretty interesting if both teams field that flagship. I think the Balgorn, in terms of being pimped, is a lot more powerful than a Macarial, but again, maybe they could just bring just a normal setup like TFIs or something. I don't know, we'll see. They're both wildcard teams. Anything can come out of them. That's the excitement about them. They can bring anything. So yeah, I think they're good wildcard teams. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, so we're just over halfway through the day. I want to ask both of you, what are your favourite matches been so far? The matches that really stand out to you so far? If you can remember any of them in the blur that has been today. Rocket, are there any matches that have particularly stood out to you, or any team comps that you've really enjoyed seeing?
In fairness, I particularly enjoyed watching Shadow Cartel. I mean, I expected more from them, and I then watched them try and claw back a match that they stood a very reasonable chance of winning, and then their Balgon pilot MJDs at the start, and then he then has to burn back in at 700 or 800 MS. In a battleship, you don't really see that very often in the tournament. They're not the most mobile ships. They need to sit and apply damage from where they are or in their very near facility. So watching them claw that back, pretty impressive to watch.
Yeah. So we've just got word that the next match is ready. So let's go through predictions. Reload, Velour or Solar?
I'm going to go with Galante Federation on this one. I'm going to go with my Galante Bros.
Yeah, Rocket?
I'm going to go with Solar.
I think I'll go with Velour because I remember fighting them a lot when I was in Waffles. Best of luck to both teams. Let's go to the match with Chesser and Rain right now.